what's happening? Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. How are you? Good evening. And thanks for joining me here on this late night edition of the show. It's just after midnight here in East Coast time in America. I'm in the sticks, quite frankly. And as I've been trying to put the show together and make sure I have enough content for you happy people to stare at, I've been sort of vacillating between time spent with family, which where my mind is only on that thing, and then as soon as everybody goes to sleep, my mind is on fire with all of the BS I'm seeing everywhere. And so I thought it would be good tonight to jump in on a couple of different fronts, not the least of which is the bullshit, and I do say bullshit, around the Hunter Biden laptop mythology. Now, there's a point, to be completely fair, at one point, I think TYT, like a bunch of other people, say something along the lines of, this is real. Hold on, let me see.
Dissents across the board. Whoa. That seems bad.
Wow.
Yeah, Anna, that's my point. Let
Yeah.
me weigh in on this story.
Yeah, I can hardly wait. Hunter Biden investigation continues despite paying tax dues is the name of the...
We now have firm conclusions. Hunter Biden and his laptop. Okay, first,
Firm conclusions.
let me just declare our bias in this case is approximately 0%.
Bullshit. Wait, why'd it go away? Did they get knocked off the air? What happened? Really?
We don't give a damn about Hunter Biden. We don't care if he's innocent. We don't care if he's guilty.
He ain't my hero.
Yeah, so Democrats.
He ain't my hero. I just want to shit on him from a distance. I think he refers to him as like a rich, powerful guy's kid.
And Hunter Biden, the Republicans attack him. They're both incredibly biased. For us, he's a rando son of a powerful person. So what? Okay, so if he was completely. And by the way, when the headlines hit, I was like, oh, let's see what they got. And if turns out he did it, okay, fine, great.
And the did it part he's talking about is didn't pay his taxes.
Away.
Which he did.
I don't care at all. Okay, so now there is a reason why it matters, and it's about Joe Biden. And the jury's come in completely. So we'll explain. So let me go one by one. On the case, I'm glad they brought it. Why am I glad they brought it against Hunter Biden? Because it turns out some bitch hadn't paid his taxes. All of a sudden they bring a case. He's like, oh yeah, well, I always meant to pay.
That's not how it worked out. He's mischaracterizing it, but
Did you?
that's not the important part.
Did
we'll
you?
move on.
Because it didn't seem like you meant to pay the taxes. So on that alone, I'm glad that the federal authorities brought this case against Hunter Biden.
Can I just say something real quick? Look, I'm with you. I think it's very likely that he was dodging his taxes. However, just devil's advocate, he went through a pretty lengthy stretch of being addicted to some serious drugs, okay?
Oh, totally.
So he left his laptop behind at
No, he didn't.
a repair shop
No, he didn't.
that had all sorts of sensitive stuff in it.
No, it didn't.
Yes, on the other hand, it turns out the laptop, in an incredible, spectacular twist of irony,
Spectacular twist of irony.
proves that Joe Biden didn't do it, which I'll get to in a second.
Oh yeah, that's some of the emails that they've gotten from Burisma, which is another story entirely, is what he's talking about.
Okay, keep going.
Okay, so, but you're right, he was a hot mess and no one would dispute that, including Hunter Biden and Joe Biden,
Correct.
Right? So, but guys, on the actual charges, he's guilty but not guilty, right? So on taxes. So because, did he not pay them? No, he didn't pay them, right? And the fact that you pay them later doesn't actually make you innocent, but it makes it incredibly hard to convict you. That
He took out a loan and paid them.
there isn't a prosecutor in the country that's going to bring that charge minus the politics.
Because it's difficult to convince a jury to want to convict you
After you already paid them,
you've paid your
right?
taxes. Yeah.
Right.
So, and then he'll go in and say, I was on a lot of things, and now that I'm sober, I paid the taxes. There's no way they're going to convict on that. On Farah, the foreign agent issue, I have no idea. Let him keep going. Let the grand jury decide.
Right.
Let the jury decide.
Yeah, just go after him. Just go after him. Now, in a second, Cenk is going to mention that there's a very specific email from the Burisma cache that's on the alleged laptop, which doesn't exist. But I'm not even going to play with that bullshit that they just automatically go, well, it's from the laptop. No, it isn't. No one affirms that. No one asserts that. Show me a picture. Show me metadata. Knock it the fuck off.
I don't know enough evidence about it. It seems like he could have done it, or he
Except for
might not have done it. I'm not at all sure. Okay. So, and if they convict him on that, good. I don't care. That means that they had enough evidence. Okay. So now, most important, who cares about Hunter Biden? The question is Joe Biden corrupt? Right. Well, Anna just read you a quote that said, remember, we need to abide by the laws, which was going to be pretty good evidence in this trial that he's not guilty of the FAR violations either.
Right. That's my point. He's just, Chink is now quoting an email that exonerates Hunter Biden on any like influence peddling.
And our partners need to know in no uncertain terms, are we going to interfere? But wait, that's not all. There's a money quote coming up here. He does refer to Joe Biden as quote unquote my guy, right? So I love how the right wing is so shallow. They're like a millimeter deep, right? They're like, the laptop is real. By the way, the laptop is real. That's it.
No, it's not.
That's interesting.
No, it isn't.
Okay, so
not asserted in the story at all. Everybody just carrying this as if. Okay, for one second. Okay, here's where this starts. So this is the Hunter Biden laptop story from the New York Post a long time ago. Biden's secret emails revealed. Ukrainian exec thanked Hunter Biden for opportunity to meet VP Dad. Right, that's the whole thing. Smoking gun email reveals how he introduced Ukrainian businessman to VP Dad. That's from 2020. That's the article that everybody's running about this never before seen meeting, blah, 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 which never happened, by the way. Let's see, and this is photos of the Delaware subpoena given to Post show that both the computer and the hard drive were seized by the FBI in December. This is the one that Fox showed as well. They were not. Hold on. After the shop's owner says he alerted the feds to their existence. So this is a piece of paper given to them by the shop owner, not the FBI. So let's just go with forgery. But anyways, the federal subpoena showing computer and hard drive were seized by not the A. And they weren't seized, they were given to them. Now, here's the thing. Where do they go after that? Besides the garbage. All right. Before turning the gear over, the shop owner says he made a copy of the hard drive and later gave it to Rudy Giuliani's lawyer, Robert Costello. This is all bullshit, we know, because there was a previous story about the laptop was actually at the house of, what's his name? Charles Blow. I always blow that name. Hold on one second. Let's see. Hunter laptop, Fox News psychiatrist story. We'll find it here. All right. Blaz New York Times about Hunter Biden. This is all okay. This is going to be way back there. Yeah, here it is. This was yeah. So Keith Ablow, the original story was that this is October 31st, 2020. Federal authorities have allegedly seized a second laptop belonging, and by the way, they acted like it was after. This is earlier than the other one. Another laptop purportedly belonging to Joe Biden's son was taken by the Drug Enforcement Administration in February on Friday at this dude's house. This is Keith Ablow. Two sources told the outlet the laptop was taken when the feds executed a search warrant on Ablow's office in Massachusetts. Ablow, a psychiatrist, had his medical license suspended after he allegedly sexually exploited patients, among other accusations of professional misconduct. He was a regular Fox guest and a shrink they had there. Ablow has denied them, hasn't been charged with any crimes at that point. He has since then, I think. Hunter Biden has made headlines. Was given, after another first laptop was given to the FBI after he apparently dropped it off at a repair shop in 2019 and never picked it up. Also bullshit story. But this was the first, this was the original source. Ablow's source was the original source for these alleged pictures and stories. laptop repairman story. Let's see. Here we go. This is is it back up? Hold on. Yeah. So this is the story everybody's quoting right now. This is the Hunter Biden paid tax bill, but broad federal investigation continues. And this is about whether he paid his taxes. This is the article they're talking about. Okay. So after you go through this and it talks about the Farrah stuff and all that, whatever, they go down to he's now a painter and he's basically retired. There it is. Okay. So this is the paragraph that everybody is like, ah, ha, ha, ha. All right. So this is it. People familiar with the investigation said prosecutors had examined emails between Mr. Biden, Mr. Archer, and others about Burisma and other foreign business activity. Those emails were obtained by the New York Times from a cache of files that appears to have come from a laptop abandoned by Mr. Biden in Delaware repair shop, which he didn't. The email and others in the cache were authenticated by people familiar with them and with the investigation. That the emails that appear to be. Now, since we know this is Russian disinfo, you don't think they're going to actually try to make them look like they could at least appear to be real? Right. So, again, show me a picture of the metadata on the actual stuff. I'm not talking about, I don't want to see printouts like Rudy is waving, and I don't want to see this bullshit. Appears to have come from a laptop abandoned by. Okay, so this is a hyperlink. So we go to this. This is the what we know and don't know about the Hunter Biden and a laptop. Okay, so this is September 13th, 2021. They updated it, but this was from 2020. I don't know which part of it. Let's see what they updated at the bottom. Hold on. There should be some. Version of this article appears in print 2020, section in the New York Times edition of the headline, what we know and don't know about the Hunter Biden laptop. Order reprints, today's paper, subscribe, blah, 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 what we don't. Okay. So here's the thing. How'd the laptop service? They tell the backstory of this nonsense. And he goes, at some point, he decided to examine the material, calling it alarming and embarrassing, but declining to discuss specifics. But Mr. Isaac said he made a copy of the computer's contents. And so that's where we go from it being a laptop that supposedly exists to a hard drive that ends up in Rudy Giuliani's possession. This guy won't talk to anybody anymore, and he's just basically disappeared. But this hard drive, Rudy has made 4 or 5 copies of it, but he won't give them out permanently or something. He only gives them to like Steve Bannon, I suppose, like has a copy. It's hard to say because when they raided his apartment, he had 3 of them. So, and which is, if it's, again, if any of it's true, even if it's deep fakes or whatever, the idea that there's, alleged child porn on this hard drive, meaning that there's supposedly pictures of Hunter Biden having sex with a woman that somehow Rudy Giuliani knows is under 18. I don't know how he's supposed to know that. But apparently he does magically. But if he does believe that, it doesn't even have to be true. It's like when on To Catch a Predator, when they bust somebody, the person luring the person doesn't have to be 18 for it to be a crime. If they believe they were meeting a 15-year-old, it's a crime. Okay, so Rudy Giuliani copying pictures of Hunter Biden having sex or deep fakes of Hunter Biden having sex or copies of whatever. If Rudy Giuliani legitimately believes that any people in it are underage, and he makes copies of it and disseminates it, that's dissemination of child porn. That's a crime. Ask Rudy. He will know this. Okay, so this is fun too. What about concerns over Russian disinformation? No concrete evidence has emerged that the laptop contains Russian disinformation. With pressure mounting on the FBI to respond to questions from Congress about the laptop, the Bureau wrote to one of the president's staunchest allies in Congress, Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin, suggesting it had not found any Russian disinfo on the laptop. What does that mean? Did it find Russian info on the laptop? Does it not consider it? Okay. That part meaning that they haven't found any criminality on it. So the hard drives that Rudy has actually have it. So basically, the laptop and the hard drive are different. They contain different stuff. Okay. And John Ratcliffe, the director of national intelligence, told Fox that the laptop is, quote, not in a part of some Russian disinformation campaign. But Mr. Radcliffe, who's been criticized for embracing the president's political agenda, or the FBI authenticated the laptop's contents, or whether he was simply saying they had not gathered evidence that Russia altered any of the material. They're not looking. They don't want to look. The whole thing, it's basically, there's under direction, don't look at it. Just hold it. If you look, you'll find out it's bullshit. If you disseminate all of the files, somebody will do a metadata search on all the stuff and recognize that it's bullshit. So hide it. Just sit on it. It's just like the Zelensky press conference. We don't need the investigation. We just need you to say there's going to be an investigation. It's the same shit. Hal sitting at a table with a sign, "There is no Hunter Biden laptop, prove me wrong." I would love to do that. I think it's hilarious. So there you go. That's the point I'm trying to make. This is goofy. And again, none of this says there is one, including, by the way, the most recent New York Times story. This one, which is there, everybody's, everybody is talking about that paragraph. This one right here, as if the fact that some of these emails, which when the Russians would put this together, they would get real ones from Burisma. Remember Burisma was hacked. Remember that before let's see, Burisma hacked by Russia. Boop. There you go. This guy. You guys will remember this. Remember this story? Russians hacked Ukrainian gas company at center of impeachment. This is January 13th, 2020. This is before the laptop, kids. This is before the laptop. Before the laptop magically appears. With President Trump facing an impeachment trial over his efforts to pressure Ukraine to investigate former President Joseph R. Biden and his son Hunter Biden, Russian military hackers have been boring into the Ukrainian gas company at the center of the affair, according to security experts. Hacking attempts against Burisma, the Ukrainian gas company on whose board Hunter Biden served, began in early November. That's in 2019. As talk of the Biden's Ukraine impeachment was dominating the news and the stories. It's not clear what the hackers found or precisely what they were searching for. Again, the assumption is the problem. Can I say this to news people? Hackers don't always take stuff out. Sometimes hackers put stuff in, especially when it's it's disinfo. Come on, grow up. All right. But the experts say the timing and scale of the attacks against the Russians could be searching for potentially embarrassing material in the Bidens, the same kind of information he wanted from Ukraine when he pressed for an investigation of the Bidens at Burisma, setting off a chain of events that led to his impeachment. The Russian tactics are strikingly familiar to what intelligence say was Russia's hacking of emails from Senator Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman and Democratic National Committee during the 2016 case. In that case, once they had the emails, the Russians used trolls to spread and spin the material and build an echo chamber to widen its effect. Right. Same shit. And then they talk about Fancy Bear and the hacking of it and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so what you do is you break into Burisma and you take some out. Take some stuff out, some real stuff, and then you mix it with some stuff you make up yourself in a big soup, and nobody wants to sort it out because it's already chopped up, and you have to admit to some of it if you, to all of it, if you just admit to some of it. If you go, yeah, that's mine, that part's mine, but then you have to go, that part's not mine, and that part's not, and then you're parsing all this stuff instead of just going, not mine, fuck off, which is what you will do. So there you go. Anyways, it's it doesn't exist. I'm just fucking telling you that it does not. I'm sick of this stupid bullshit.
Grant that. And then
no, you don't grant that. It's garbage. Forget it. Quit it.
And they're like, and then he said in the emails, my God. Yeah, we know, dude, that's Joe Biden. We know that. Okay, so, but what did he say about my guy? He said, my guy, but not, he wouldn't refer to him by name, but he said that.
And by the way, some of these emails are not from allegedly the Hunter Biden laptop. That's the other problem with this. They're commingling this story with stuff that came from Hunter Biden's business partner, emails that were gotten from that investigation about taxes.
Should be, quote, characterized. Now remember, he's on the Ukrainian gas company's board, so he's trying to make himself look important to them, so they keep paying him ungodly sums of money for no reason.
No, they're paying it because he's a shepherd for investors' money, and he can't escape. Because the problem with Burisma and a lot of the Ukrainian stuff was there were so many Russian sock puppets around that anytime investors came in to try and shore up any of the businesses legitimately, the money would always end up in Russia. It would always be stolen. That's what they mean by corruption. It would not go to the actual services that the Ukrainian people want and need. It would be gutted by Republican, by Russian criminals. And so one of the reasons why they wanted Hunter Biden on the board, whether he knew anything about oil and gas or not, was that he was most investors are like this, are a shepherd for the money. You give them money, they invested in something, and they are the caretakers of it so that it gets spent where it's supposed to go. And unlike these other people who've been bringing money into Burisma and other companies over the years, Hunter Biden's dad is the VP. He can't fucking vanish into Russia. He didn't need to know anything. His dad's name being on the line was enough to guarantee the investors that their money would be spent where it was supposed to go.
$40,000 a month.
$40,000 a month, okay?
Yes. For over, $12 billion worth of investment over time in Burisma? $40,000 a month is chicken shit money.
So he says about his relationship with his dad, it should be, quote, characterized as part of our advice and thinking. In other words, what Biden's gonna say should be characterized as our advice and our thinking, so that the board members think, oh man, this guy's got the vice presidency. But he continues, this is a direct quote from a document he did not think would ever be revealed. But what he will say and do is out of our hands. Joe Biden, definitively not guilty.
Right. The point is that it was never going to be that way. And it was always going to be clear to them that they're not. They were watering this down to make it look like, well, I'll give it a try. But there is no there. Never was. And even like mixed in with these emails is other bullshit to try and make it like, well, maybe he might have in the future. No. Sorry. Piss off with that nonsense. Right, but what about Hillary's emails? Exactly. Ugh. So, all right. I just had to deal with that because Greg Kelly's on the same kick. This is the whole thing. This is Trump was right about Hunter Biden's laptop is the name of this one.
I can say is that the fake news.
God damn, he does this all the time. God. Does Kelly just have like, why don't they just call this the Daddy Issues Hour?
Just doesn't get it today.
I mean, they're totally fine with war criminals. Vladimir Putin, Joe Biden himself said he's a war criminal.
Right?
Still has a Twitter account. How about that? Yes.
Yeah, it's weird that even a war criminal can manage not to violate the terms of service.
President of Russia, his Twitter account is still active with 1.7 million followers. This guy,
I'm sure they're all legit. I'm sure there's not a ghost account or a scarecrow account anywhere on there.
is calling for active.
Sorry.
Donald Trump suspended.
Right, because he could stay within the terms of service even with his bullshit. Lots of other people who believe what Trump believes managed to do it, but you can't foment an attack on our Capitol.
About that. And
Everybody, and by the way, there's a standard. It's sort of like when somebody's a doctor on online and their name is that they're doctor something or other, and they use that as an authority point, and then they say something that's bullshit. As a doctor, people will go, "Oh, a doctor said that," and they might take it more seriously than they should, and therefore get themselves poisoned or killed or die of something. And so they often take that much more seriously because people aren't going to weigh that against what's they're going to assume it's an authority because of that. Same with the president of the United States or a former president of the United States. They're going to weigh that as well. It's the United States, it's president. It's our country. It's in here. But most people know that, whether it's the mullahs in Iran or other organizations that have these, even the Chinese government, the people are like, yeah, but you got to, yeah, sure, they're putting stuff up, but wait, we know better.
Everybody seems
Oh, the audio's clipping again? Okay, sorry. Let me see if I can fix this.
fine with that. Also this, so the mainstream media, the fake news, they have finally acknowledged that the Hunter Biden laptop, the one with all the weird pictures and all of the incriminating emails, yeah, it's his.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
It's real.
It's legitimate.
No, it isn't.
We were right all along. The New York Post, Miranda Devine, Newsmax, Rudy Giuliani.
No, you were wrong. It doesn't exist. Show it to me. Rudy has it. Rudy has to have taken a picture with it, right? He held it in his hands.
We were right. Now we knew it, but it's funny. Now liberals will have to acknowledge it. I wonder how they're...
I don't know why the audio is very strange. Because like I said, audio comes and goes, and it's good right now. It's so weird. It's fine now? Okay.
Going to ignore it this time. The laptop that was dropped off at that little shop in Wilmington, Delaware by a drunk hunter one night several years
Bullshit. Even the guy who runs the place is not sure who dropped it off.
ago.
And then he didn't come up with that receipt until after. And what the fuck is that signature?
Tells all of his comings and goings in China, in Ukraine, in Russia.
No, it doesn't.
It's all there. It's all legitimate, and it's...
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. No, it isn't. If it's all there, show it. Greg, do a special. Run all this stuff. Come on. You can do it. You can post it. Don't give me a picture. Don't give me a picture of 3 countries. I know what these countries are named. I know what their basic shapes are like. Although the sizes seem to be a bit off. Put them up. Let's see.
Oh, very.
Maybe
very
you will. Maybe you
damning.
will.
So
They're very damning. Okay, we've gone to this graphic again.
let's go to these now mainstream media authenticated emails. Email number 1. The announcement of my guy's upcoming travels should be characterized as part of our advice and thinking. But what he will say and do is out of our hands. Now, my guy is his dad, the vice president.
All right. By the way, in this, I am seeing 2 emails, Robert Biden and Devin Archer. So these are the Archer emails. These have to do with the tax conversations. Again, this is the conflation that the Young Turks made. Subject tomorrow, April 13, 2014, 12:43 a.m. And again, this technically, according to if you read it right, just basically goes, I'm not delivering him. Sorry, but still not part of the laptop emails
Of the United States.
and also the appears to be from part, like, I'm shrugging that off. It is 2022. I am not taking any digital evidence without some sort of backup.
And he's talking about an upcoming trip to Ukraine, where he will be taking that job with Burisma before the trip. Next, please.
So what?
The contract should begin now, not after the upcoming visit of my guy. And then he talks about all the money he wants. Now, the upcoming visit by his guy was, yes, the vice president of the United States. My guy, this.
Yeah, proof he wrote that email. Seriously. I'll wait.
With the president of Ukraine at the time in 2014, Mr. Poroshenko. Now, it has been verified. I'll get to the specific newest verification.
Yeah, get to that. Get to that, will you?
But first, when I talked about it, when we talked about it, when the New York Post talked about it, look at what they said about us.
The right wing is going crazy with all sorts of allegations about Biden and his family, too disgusting to even repeat here.
Hunter Biden's laptop, that whole thing has been fizzling. It looks like it's tied to Vladimir Putin in Moscow.
It is. And again, at what point, hold on, I'm going to shrink this down. Sorry. How is this different? How is this not true?
A computer store owner in Delaware who allegedly received Hunter Biden's laptop. That is more in line with when you think about somebody who's a useful idiot. That's kind of the entry point that is kind of, a classic indicator of the potential presence of disinformation.
Hey, by the way, is that Peter Strzok? I think it is. Talk about idiots, huh? Well, the New York Post had this story in the fall of 2020.
Yeah, and it was bullshit then.
It was huge.
No, it wasn't.
And it really made the Democrats and big tech nervous. So what did they do? They pulled some strings and they got the oldest newspaper in America kicked off the internet.
Yeah, because Twitter, just like yours truly, I was named after a computer after all, knows the difference between a verified digital document using metadata and a printout given to you by the lawyer of an asshole who's trying to get dirt on his opponent's son so that he can run for office and dirty him up. I'm sorry, but it's the presidency of the United States. And if you're going to bring this kind of bullshit, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Get your shit together.
For 3 critical weeks before the election.
Right. Because that was the misinfo window.
And
Sorry, beg your pardon. Disinfo.
Boy, did they kick in big time. All kinds of former intelligence officials from Democrats, Republicans, they came together and wrote a phony letter trying to say that this was all disinformation. We write to say that the arrival on the U.S. political scene of emails purportedly belonging to Vice President Biden's son, Hunter, much of it related to his serving on the board of Ukrainian gas company Burisma, has all the classic earmarks of a Russia disinformation campaign.
That says Russia information campaign, but it is true. Yeah, it still does.
And these guys who wrote it, heavyweights, Jim Clapper, Mike Hayden, he was CIA under Bush, Leon Panetta, John Brennan, of course. Now, these guys, being the swamp characters that they are, they knew that this thing was legitimate.
No, they didn't.
They provided themselves an out. In that letter, little postscript. We want to emphasize that we do not know if the emails are genuine or not.
What? There's some wiggle room in this, Greg. The ellipses, the little 3 dots. What's in between? We do not know if the emails ... are genuine or not. That we do not have evidence yet.
And that we do not have evidence of Russian involvement. Well, then don't sign the letter.
Well, then don't post the thing. Because you can't prove they're not.
But they did. And it was very, very useful in the debate. Okay? Because that letter existed. And when the issue came up, when Donald Trump brought it up, well, watch Joe Biden lie.
No, he's not going to lie. Hang out.
Well, I tell you what, I hope he does look at me, because what's happening here is, you know who I am, you know who he is, you know his character, you know my character, you know our reputations for honor and telling the truth. I am anxious to have this race. I am anxious to see this take place. The character of the country is on the ballot. Our character is on the ballot. Look at us closely.
Let me ask some follow-up. Please respond, and then we're going to have follow-up.
If this stuff is true about Russia, Ukraine, China, other countries, Iraq, if this is true, then he's a corrupt politician.
All right.
So don't give me the stuff about how you're this innocent baby. Joe, they're calling you a corrupt politician.
No.
Joe, they're calling you a corrupt politician. No, you are, dum-dum.
President Trump, I want to stay on the issue of race. We're talking about the issue.
Laptop from hell.
President Trump, we're talking about race right now, and I do want to stay on the issue of race. President Trump,
And I
you've
have to respond to that.
Please,
Because look,
very quickly.
there are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant. They have said that this has all the 5 former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
That's exactly what.
Is this
that's
where you're
exactly
going?
what.
This is
told.
where he's going. The laptop is Russia,
Yes.
Gentlemen,
Russia.
I want to stay on the issue of race.
You
okay?
have to be kidding. Here we
Mr.
go
President,
again with Russia.
We're going to.
And by the way, this is Trump trying to do the "here we go again." Can you tell? Remember the well, there you go again, the Reagan thing. This is him watching Reagan doing, I paid for these microphones, that kind of stuff. Watching how did Reagan win a debate, and then just basically copy
You
it.
on the issue of race, Mr. President. You've described.
Back to the issue of race. Some fascinating things happen in there. Again, he used that phony letter to his advantage. Did you see Joe Biden for a moment when Donald Trump brought up the laptop? Joe was scared.
Is that what that is? Is that the look? Greg, is that the look? Is that what he was? He was scared? Because there's a little bit I'm going to fucking punch you in the face to it as well. You might be projecting, Greg, since you live in fear.
Alone and vulnerable and scared. He had that
He
letter.
looks alone and vulnerable and scared. You can just tell. You know what I mean? Look, you can tell right here. If in this moment, Joe looks alone and vulnerable and scared, and Greg Kelly looks like he's trying to entice a child into a van. What are you talking about? Why don't I just here? There's a freeze frame of you.
Now it's
Here's Greg forgetting what he was going to say and trying to get you to not leave while he's boring you at a party. And
I'll show you.
And this is where he's drunk and he's just burped in your face. And you can tell in this moment that this is a man with gas who's drunk and just wants his keys so he can get the fuck out of here.
How the fake news.
And this is Greg Kelly in a moment where he realizes he's forgotten your name and he's about to call you buddy.
Verified it in a moment. But first, remember the guy.
And this is Greg Kelly. If you can tell in this moment, there was just a moment in this interview where Greg Kelly was just tripping balls. At this moment, if you'll recall, and he forgot how to count to 2, so he had his finger stuck in the air for what seemed like an eternity.
Has always been a liar. It comes so easy to him.
Project much?
Mr. Vice President, how many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about overseas business.
And so how do you know?
Here's what I know. I know Trump deserves to be investigated. He is violating every basic norm of a president. You should be asking him the question, why is he on the phone with a foreign leader, trying to intimidate a foreign leader, if that's what happened? That appears what happened. You should be looking at Trump. Trump's doing this because he knows I'll beat him like a drum. And he's using the abuse of power and every element of the presidency to try to do something to smear me.
Here's what I
Right?
know. When you catch a liar, they often do what Joe just did. Deny everything, admit nothing, and make counter accusations.
Yeah, he was in a campaign, actually, and any campaign will say, don't make it, anytime they try to make it about you, make it about the other person. This isn't his first rodeo, dum-dum.
That's what he did. And quite frankly, here's some proof.
Is the proof written on a piece of paper to your right? God damn it. Will this guy ever get a teleprompter?
In that laptop is an email from Vadim Parzarsky.
Also, don't believe it. Sorry. I'm not going to stand here while people put pictures of emails up and tell me what's in them. Especially when, by the way, this isn't even a picture of the actual printed email. This is retyped. Look at the difference in text and size between everything, right? And look at Hunter Biden, H. Biden at RosemontSeneca.com from Vadim Bazarsky. Subject, meeting for coffee?
Burisma senior employee to Hunter, thanking him for the opportunity to have met his father at a dinner that Hunter set up in Washington, D.C. There are a million emails about setting up the dinner, and they have a
Yeah, they didn't go.
cover story for the dinner.
There was a cover story for the dinner. The cover story is it didn't happen.
It's dirty stuff.
This is there was a moment in the show where Greg Kelly decided that since the show was going so poorly and its point wasn't being taken seriously, that he would just do his impersonation of Stan Laurel.
It really is. And now for the mainstream media's final embrace of the laptop. Because
Bullshit.
now that Joe Biden is safely in the White House, now they can look at Hunter. Because he is under federal investigation. A grand jury is hearing evidence. The New York
About taxes that he paid.
Times writes today, this came out late last night. And let's bring it up on the screen, please.
Yes, let's bring it up.
They cite emails, and those emails were obtained by...
I'm a big fan of this one. That word right there. It's carrying a lot of weight in this. That didn't bother anybody. This word right here. That doesn't. No. Appears. Does it appear or did it? If you have a cache of documents, you can either verify them or you can't. If you can't verify them, then you would say appears. They haven't been verified. Show me the laptop. Piss off.
New York Times from a cache of files that appears to
have
come from a laptop abandoned by Mr. Biden in a Delaware repair shop.
Which is a hot link, and I showed you that already, and that link doesn't verify that the story about where it came from was true.
All right. There you go. That's pretty...
No, there you go. There you go. Appears. No. Metadata or piss off.
significant. I mean, in a way, because now liberals, the latte liberals, that whole scene...
That's me. He's talking about me. Hi, Craig.
They'll have to admit it.
No, they don't.
I guess...
By the way, it annoys me that some of the latte liberals are breezing past the word appears to have come, and then the hot link to this other story, which does not verify the actual story. Don't get me started.
Just ignore it. They'll pretend none of this happened.
No. The story happened. Your report happened. It just won't have any impact on anything.
Jen Psaki kind of did that. Now, during the campaign, this notorious liar, Psaki, Hunter Biden's story is Russia disinformation. Dozens of former intel officials say.
Yep.
Each of those intel officials should be challenged on this. They should have been.
Yeah, they should be challenged on this. Yes. How about the story where it just says appears to have come? That's not going to. You're not going to challenge that. So if Kavanaugh or Trump was attacked by a story and the evidence appears to have come, you think Greg would let it slide?
And they should.
You think he'd let them attack Daddy like that? You think he'd let them get away with that? My goodness. You leave Mr. Trump and Mr. Kavanaugh alone. These are specious, spurious accusations. And there's nothing to them. I assure you. And this evidence you bring forward with this appears to have. Well, my goodness. Mirages appear to be water. But try and drink one, you get a mouthful of sand.
No. So, what did she say? Now that the New York Times is saying this is the real deal, go ask somebody else.
The New York Times has authenticated emails that appear to have come from a laptop.
Appears to have come. He's even saying appears to have come.
Abandoned by Hunter Biden in Delaware.
Sorry, what laptop would that be? Have you seen the said laptop? Or you mean a cache of files that have been passed on from a hard drive copy of something that comes from another story you didn't verify? Fuck, this is tedious.
The president previously said that the New York Post story about this was a bunch of garbage.
It is.
And that it was a Russian plant.
It is.
We stand by that assessment.
I've pointed the Department of Justice and also to Hunter Biden's representatives. He doesn't work in the government.
Wow, that's it. And they're...
Yeah, that's it. Yes, that's it. But tell you what, Greg, have me on and I'll tell you to go fuck yourself. How about that? It was never a strong story. It gets weaker every day. There is no laptop. Have Rudy on right next to me and let him describe to both of us how big the laptop is, what color it is, where the sticker on it is, what he saw when he opened it, who broke into it, all the story. I want to hear the whole fucking story, Greg. I want to hear all about it. And then I want a copy of the hard drive, the whole fucking thing. So I can do a metadata look, and I'll do it live. I'll hold it with plastic gloves and have guards around me as I plug it in, and we all just let it come up on screen. What do you think? Huh? What do you think? I won't open any images, but until I've without blurring them out first, because that would be because God knows what Putin's pals put on there. You're welcome. But do you mind if we look in there and just do a big search of the metadata? No?
They're probably going to get away with it.
Oh my God. They're what? How are they going to get away with it? With hard evidence like appears to be?
Yeah, they're safe.
How do you push back against appears to be? That's better than visual hearsay.
In the White House. Here's the thing, though. A lot of folks did not know about this when they needed to know about it back.
Yeah, that would have done it. Would change their vote if they knew about the Biden scandals. Biden voters. Uh-huh.
The fall of...
If, by the way, the Biden scandals that aren't scandals, based on the emails that you just read out loud, they aren't scandals. They are not.
20. And polls indicate that at least 17% of Biden voters would have changed their vote if they knew about this stuff. And guess what? If they did know about it and they changed their vote and Biden wasn't president but Trump.
But Trump was, we wouldn't be at war in Ukraine. Ukraine would just be in Russian hands right now without a shot being fired that we would have known about. I mean, a lot of Ukrainians would have fought back, but they'd be dead by now because we wouldn't be helping them. We'd be stiff-arming NATO.
Ukraine wouldn't be happening.
This is the point in the debate where Greg realized that he had something from lunch on his lip, and no matter how hard he licked, it never came off. He was lonely. He was sad. And his lip tasted like soup. You can tell from look at this moment. This is a sad, sorry man.
Because can you imagine Donald Trump saying something like this if Putin were on the verge of invading Ukraine?
Russia will be held accountable if it invades, and it depends on what it does. It's one thing if it's a
yes, I can.
minor incursion, and then we end up having a fight about what to do and not do, etc.
Yeah, talk about Donbass and Crimea.
What if he invades just a little bit? Joe Biden gave a green light to Putin. Why would
A green light.
he do that?
No, he didn't.
Why?
I think he probably wanted to bait him in so he could snap the trap on him. That's probably it.
Sometimes war, it helps a president, helps them with their poll numbers.
Oh, that's what it was. He was wagging someone else's dog. Biden was wagging the cat this time. Biden was wagging the ferret.
Could that have been on his mind?
Oh, I could probably. Or not.
I wonder.
I know. And this was the moment in the debate where Biden was totally disgusted with his opponent, Greg Kelly, and Greg decided to just turn his head away and try to do his best Garth Brooks album cover impersonation.
62% of Americans know that this would not be happening under Donald Trump.
Yeah, he would have just given it to him. Yeah, that was the whole plan. He was gonna hand Ukraine to him. It wouldn't have been a fight. You know what 62% of Americans believe? That there would be no united NATO, united European front against Russia. None of these sanctions would have happened. Like that's what we know now. That's why Biden's got a 15-point bump on his handling of Ukraine since it started. because he was right. And anybody who thinks that Putin got this fixation on Ukraine in the last 11 months is a frigging lunatic. When you start talking about the historical ownership of a country, by your country, like Hitler talked about the Sudetenland or Poland and shit, that's deeper than, oh, shit. The Polish president looks it looks like he's on his heels. They got some nice farmland over there. It's deeper than that. So he was obviously thinking about this all during the Trump years, and he was asking for little bitty favors so he could salami slice his way in and then eventually claim Kyiv. He could undermine Zelensky with Trump's help. Never give him a White House visit, deny him javelins until the last, and the money for javelins until the last possible second, even though Congress had already told him he could have them. I know, 30.8. It's zipping up, Andrea. Like once we hit 30, we'll be at 31 before you know it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, by the way. I don't want to forget to put that in there. Give a thumbs up, like and subscribe. The show today. It's, we're new. We're the new kid on the block. We don't have these giant numbers that some of these other stations have. I haven't been at this for a decade. I don't have $1 million to buy ghost followers the way Newsmax does. Yeah. So there we go. Good times. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, I know. 672. It's a late night show. We got a bunch of people in the chat already. I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate your eyeballs and trolls, because I knew because of the topic that I was discussing that we'd end up with a certain amount of trolls, that the maggots would circle a little bit, and that's to be expected. So I want to thank you guys for being here, because without your eyeballs and without you typing things in the chat and being all angry, we wouldn't have the expansion in the algorithm that we have. We'd still have 5,000 subscribers like we did about a year and a half ago. So it's been growing. It's nice, and largely because of you guys. So thank you, trolls. Just try not to say anything really, really hateful towards a marginalized group. I know it's hard. I know, because I think you get a bonus from your boss if you manage to slip, a racial or anti-gay epithet in, or something that's just baseline misogynistic. I know that, you get like extra points for that, but just try and dial it back so you can hang around. Otherwise we broom you and then you're no good to us, because you understand, every time you type something, that tells the algorithm that not only am I watchable, I'm engaging. Hi there. So, and also I apologize on behalf of the rest of the chat, because this is not one of the weak, easily panicked chats you might be used to. So we don't care. Yeah, you'll get. There's some trolls to feast on, but just let them, you do realize the American dollar is worth more now than when Biden took office, right? It's gone up, right? Oil is going down. The price of a barrel of oil is like $90 now. Mm-hmm. Huh. No, the trolls don't come here to die. They come here to just kind of wallow, and that toddler gif that everybody uses? It's like that. Boris and Guess in Facebook Joe for the simplest snide remark. Yeah, you have to be careful. That's true. Trolls on Facebook sometimes, they can get, I don't have any control over that. That's, Facebook will snatch you guys away sometimes on their own. So yeah, try, but everywhere else, obviously you can troll to your heart's content. Just try not to be a total bigot. I know it's hard. I know it's difficult. Like, how do you hold it in? Oh, you can do it. We believe in you. Everybody in my chat room believes in you. You can go a day without saying something genuinely hateful. You could do it. You can express your alleged conservative ideas. You can express your alleged Christian ideas, or Orthodox religion, whatever it is. There's a lot of different bigotries out there. You can express those without using bigoty language. You can find the vocabulary to say your hateful shit without violating the list of words that'll get you kicked off by most standard moderation softwares. I'm just saying, go for it. Dream big. Okay, so yeah, we got trolls. They're fun. All right. And it's okay. You know what I mean? Like these are folks that are a mess. They're a mess. I mean, how would you feel if you followed Trump for years and he was like gonna win and you're gonna be tired of winning and awesomeness, and even his wall doesn't work, apparently? Ever since he built the wall, the border's been worse than it was under Obama. What happened? Actually, it hasn't. It's recidivism. But never mind. All right, here we go. YouTube has a bunch of, thanks, Mandy. Pretend you're an angry troll. All right, let's jump in. I almost did this one earlier, but I couldn't. Fuck this dude. So, there's articles being written about what an asshole Russell has become. And people who are describing him as the asshole he is are apparently fanning the flames of his conspiratorial belief that it's the mainstream, establishment and the Illuminati or some shit that are coming after him, instead of genuine people looking at what he used to talk about and be like, and what he's talking about now and going, what the fuck happened to that dude? Why is he such an asshole now, right? No, it's not that. It's not people actually recognizing that he's talking out of his ass a lot, excusing a lot of hateful shit, and basically clearing a path for it. He's doing the hippie Alex Jones version of the Tucker Carlson thing of I'm just asking questions. That shit. And it's anybody can spot it. It's self-evident, but it couldn't possibly be the Occam's razor of you have a meditation channel and you used to view yourself as sort of a post-addiction spiritual guru that kind of was relatively likable and a little bit silly and kind of an easygoing Brit, right? And then you transitioned into this hippie Alex Jones shit, and people were like left scratching their head. It couldn't possibly be that. No, it has to be that there's a they and a them, and the them are coming for you. The theys are like, because they don't want you to see they don't want to be part of the conversation. They don't want you ever to pitch your fucking shows in Bristol and Hull and all, right, that shit. All right, so let's see, shall we? The title of this video is, They're Coming for Me. No, they're not. They're writing about you, Russell. Fuck off. You're famous. You have 5 million followers. This video itself has gotten 600,000 views. They're not coming for you. You stuck your head up and started bullshitting everybody, and people noticed. They're coming for you.
Mainstream media are coming for me and coming for this channel.
Yeah, they're coming for me and they're coming for this channel, which is me, actually.
I'm a conspiracy right-wing nut and an anti-vaxxer.
Yeah, you forgot asshole.
You don't think that I'm those things, and I don't think that I'm those things.
I don't care if you agree on the label. Again, my labels for you are based on my opinion of you, not on your opinion of you. And also, you recognize just by going, tell me in the comments below. Well, I noticed a lot of you guys aren't fans of this Chomsky quote that I put up yesterday. And a lot of you are saying that QAnon's been kind of treated shamefully. Like when he starts doing that, you're like, okay, you're just following whatever they're throwing. So that you're talking about in your own chat room, you don't think that about me, right? People watching this, and I don't think that about me. All I'm doing is videos that will make a lot of money for you. And you're the kind of people that are telling me what videos to do. Jesus.
Could there be any other reason why the mainstream media and establishment want to shut down open discourse and...
What open discourse?
Consent.
Oh. Ooh. there could be media attacks. Uh-oh, it's an attack. It's not, it couldn't be a review. You're not big. How about media criticism? Attacks? Did somebody hit you with a newspaper? Russell, what happened? Did someone with a zine write something nasty?
Hello there, you 5.2 million awakening wonders.
What's the awakening part? Citation needed.
Glory unto thee. Let's stay awake, let's stay focused, let's stay conscious, let's stay in the conversation.
Let's stay inside a brand new Chevy. I know you're the kind of driver who's looking for something that's roomy, yet sporty.
Obviously today I'm talking...
I don't know why the fuck the hand, like, I swear to God, this is like year one public speaking bullshit. It's he moves like somebody who's nervous about their TED Talk.
To you about something personal. There's been a spate of articles about me saying I'm right wing, I'm a conspiracy theorist, I'm the new Joe Rogan.
No, they're not saying you're the new Joe Rogan. They're saying you're a Joe Rogan. I will stick with hippie Alex Jones.
That one, Joe Rogan is a triumphant voice in a difficult space. I love Joe Rogan, I won't deny that.
I want to be on there. I need it. I really do. I'm actually going for his money, actually. I'm trying to be like, if, people who don't like MMA, I'd like to be their Joe Rogan.
So, what could be the reason behind it?
Because you are? Because you do? I mean, the obvious thing would be is that a bunch of people are looking at you finally because you got 5 million viewers and you're getting some spread, and people like me have drawn attention to the fact that you're doing this shit. Hi there. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, the clips that I make get shared. Yeah, they do. Just saying. The little channel that could. Got some influence, just saying. Because people are like, oh, I didn't realize that this guy was such an asshole until Hal pointed it out. Yep.
The initial articles have been provoked by a video we did about Justin Trudeau saying that his invocation of the Emergencies Act and refusal to rescind it entirely in case of certain financial components against peaceful trucker protests.
Blockades, not peaceful. Blockades. They're not protests. They're not protesting. They're blocking fucking roads where ambulances can't get through. Russell, if I drove to your house and I thought you were disseminating hateful shit and you were endangering people's lives, and I parked a truck across your driveway so you could not come and go, would you call that a protest? Even if I did it on a public road, at the end of your driveway, I park a truck right across so you cannot come and go from your own driveway. Am I protesting you, or is that a blockade? How many days into my protest do you call it a blockade, Russell? When you need to go to the grocery? When someone slips and falls and you need a fucking ambulance? When does it become a blockade?
Smacks of the kind of authoritarianism that might diminish his right to overtly condemn anti-democratic actions elsewhere. That's what we said. Does that...
Yeah, he calls protest with giant trucks where people are just sleeping in the fucking thing. I don't know why people think that would be different from people with signs standing on a corner saying what they mean. And the fact that money from outside the country was paying for a lot of it, I don't know why he didn't let that go.
To you that I said that? Does that seem reasonable?
No, it doesn't. You're being an asshole. You're conflating things on purpose.
Don't know, we'll work it out. Comments below. Stay to the end.
Yeah. Stay to the end of the video. That's how I make money. Also, comment below because that also nickels.
Video, because there's a lot of complexity. Earlier.
Because there's a lot. Stay to the end of the video because there's a lot of complexity. Cut. Look at this edit. Shit. Fucking hell, dude. Watch this edit. There's a lot of complexity. Cut.
No, we'll work it out. Comments below. Stay to the end of the video because there's a lot of complexity. Earlier in the history...
Like, I had to cut... I'm sorry. I had to cut some of the complexity for time. Yeah. There's a lot, you know what? Sometimes you can have too much complexity, honestly. I just don't think you guys can handle
This
it.
channel, we've been accused of being anti-vax simply for saying unvaccinated people might have rights.
Yeah, that's all you said.
That's been another thing. We talked about the Wuhan.
Yeah, is that all you said, Russell? Is that all you said? That unvaccinated people might have rights? Gee, it sounds so awful when you put it that way.
Lab leak theory, well, that seems to be an evolving situation too.
Well, because there's a difference between the lab leak theory and the disseminated bioweapon theory, or the idea that a bioweapon leaked from the lab, or a gain-of-function virus leaked from the lab, or a natural virus leaked from the lab, which are three very distinct ideas, right? Very distinct. And especially the part where it's actionable, which is what the initial problem was in most press, was that when people were talking about this, they were referring to it in the Jim Jordan conversations about it basically being, because of gain of function, they were working on a bioweapon. And the Chinese allowed it to get out on purpose. It was a phony leak. It was from the Wuhan lab. It wasn't even the leak part. A lot of the conversation about a lab leak was their fallback. Like, no, I was saying it got out accidentally. No, you were saying they made it there with the intention of one day attacking the world. That's a huge fucking assertion about the Chinese government, but also about the Chinese people and the assertion that they are working on some sort of like global hit attempt on a percentage of the Earth's population. You can understand why loose conversation about that would be frowned upon in most, social media platforms. Whereas accidentally leaking out, or the lack of security there, which, by the way, Trump turned gain-of-function research back on and then stopped paying for security at Wuhan. Weird. That's never brought up. Russell didn't bring that up. That's weird. But the idea that there's a wet market nearby and there's the lab, and there was a tendency at that lab for people to take animals that were used here and sell them at the wet market when it was all done, or buy animals from the wet market for use in the lab. So the crisscross in there deserves some scrutiny. But asserting that it was a lab leak or what have you is part of the problem. And everybody talking about it is like, I knew it. That's the problem.
We're going to get into it in depth. We're going to look at some of the accusations and the publications that have made those accusations.
Yeah, so you know who they are. The Independent. Right. What an ironically named organization.
Make sure that they're...
Yeah, because you are.
But before that, I want to let you know that I'm on tour and I want...
Yeah, we know. Right. Fuck you.
Plymouth.
Yeah.
Now, let's get into this story.
Yeah, now that we've got the sales out of the way. By the way, don't forget to like and subscribe. How am I doing, Russell? Is this good? Someone put a gleam in later.
Sort of calling, they're coming for me. As you know...
Yeah, I was going to call it they're coming for me, even though, as you can see out the window, no one is.
The point...
No, it isn't. Citation needed. The point of this channel is to be intentionally contrarian. That's not having an open conversation. It is using the anti-establishment bent of a certain number of YouTube viewers and political activists and political viewers and consumers of media in the United States and the UK and possibly parts of Europe to make money. That's what it's for.
And much of what we do is about critiquing news, analysing the type of content you get in the mainstream media or the corporate media or however you refer to it, looking at whether or not there's an agenda at play, the diminishing...
There is an agenda at play. You have an agenda, Russell. And part of your agenda is the illusion that you don't have one. That's the scam.
Of complexity. There's lots of things we look at. So that's what the...
Yeah, I'm just asking questions. I am, singularly picking out people that only attack the West. And but don't we hear enough people attacking Russia for bombing places? I mean, shouldn't there be someone there to go, maybe they deserve it. Maybe the Ukrainians, we know it's terrible, but perhaps they had it coming.
Point of this channel is we don't claim to be a news channel. We're not sending out journalists and going, oh my God.
There's no we. This isn't a we. Like he has a podcast and somebody else helps him record it. This ain't a we, man. My channel ain't a we. It's me. Like CSL helps me pick clips and stuff, but I'm not pretending that like I sit at a fucking round table to hear what the opinion I should give on this show is, and I'm very overt about who I am and what I believe. And even my fucking Twitter is @HalSparks. It's my goddamn name, not Rusty Rockets. What?
What's happening over there?
Oh, is it quiet? Is it that quiet? Hold on, 1 second.
We're looking at news and analysing news.
Yeah, we're just looking at news and analysing it with the help of Glenn Greenwald and Jimmy Dore and no one else. And only people who think like those two people. And the Tucker Carlsons of the world. You know, because I like to get a different viewpoint than the ones that I already agree with. Except I don't.
That's what we're doing, just to be clear. So we're not claiming to be a news channel. So
no, you're a bullshitting channel. You're claiming to not have an agenda, which is the scariest and most fucked up part of it.
The idea of misinformation, this is opinion.
Yeah, it's opinion. Oh, is that what you're reading? Is that what when you read somebody else's opinion and then you go see and you recognize that the opinion piece that you're reading isn't materially valid about anything. It's just you sharing the opinion of someone else as if it's information, as opposed to a second-hand opinion.
Obviously, my opinion. We check our sources. We never say anything that can't be backed up. And you'll be interested to note that in the many articles of criticism of this channel and what we do here, no one is able to say this thing. For example,
yes, they are. For example, this thing. Here's one. Shall we? Hold on 1 second. And I think this is actually in one of the criticisms that people have for him. Let me look this up real quick. Let me grab this. Brand, there we go. Russell Brand. Here we go.
For example,
quit it. Oh, go away, you bastard. This guy right here. Here you go.
Look, it's me, Brand.
Hey, it's Russell. Shut up. I don't care. All right, X. Get out of here. There we go. So one of the criticisms is that you do all of these paranoid delusion bullshits, these thumbnails that are insane, and then that are like all paranoid fantasies. Look at this shit. Oh, look at Jimmy Dore short. They're coming for me. It's happening. Look at the bloody thumb on Facebook. The fuck? This could get even worse. It's all starting to make sense. This is the one we talked about the other day. Look at this. Look at the UN logo and a fucking UPC symbol on the back of the neck of all these people. This is what they're not telling you about Russia. Here's Boris Johnson, Putin in the background, Biden, and just money raining down. How did we miss this? This video, look at that one. This is Justin Trudeau, and look who's peeking over his shoulder like he's giving him a Moon River. Xi Jinping. This is what they've been hiding. Ukraine doesn't have biolabs, right? This is the whole. Yeah, they've got biolabs. I mean, so why wouldn't you bomb a maternity ward? Yeah, they got the kind of biolabs like Quest Diagnostics where you send out for blood tests. And they capture pathogens like a bunch of other European places in case there's a new strain of anthrax or a fucking wheat blight you have to watch out for. But, I mean, what's the difference between that and a bioweapons lab? Biolab, bioweapons lab. The only word that matters is weapons. And just because they're not using it doesn't mean it's not there, right? That shit. We should be very concerned about this. This is Ukraine. This is the Ukrainian flag, a handshake and money. Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. The World Economic Forum, here's a bunch of people with QR codes on their heads and masks, just UPCs. Here's a little short. This is another one. We've been lied to about why the Ukraine war began. There's little Zelensky in between Biden and Putin. The narrative is collapsing. Like there's a vial for the vaccine, and there's Fauci. Yeah, and there's look, you've been distracted about Bitcoin. Joe Biden is apparently wearing a Bitcoin medallion now. So this is why Ukraine is being attacked, because Joe Biden shook hands with Putin. This is some of the criticism that, I mean, think about this particular one and who this asshole says he is. Think about who, I'm going to blow this up even bigger. Think about who Russell says he is. It's just opinion. I'm not a news organization. I'm just telling you these things. We're just talking. I want to have an open conversation, right? That's what we want to have. And then look at this fucking thumbnail. Who is this attracting? This has 1.2 million views. This is 3 days old. It's got a 1.2 million views. Look at this head with the World Health Organization and the logo on it and a UPC symbol on your fucking neck. And tell me that this is just, I want to talk about things. I just want to discuss these things. We got to be able to talk about these things. Okay, so that's one of the things, like, they don't even point to anything specific. Well, we just saw there's an article specifically that I think he's probably going to bring up because he showed a picture of it, and I saw one of them earlier, that literally the writer talks about how fucking insane his thumbnails are and how they are absolutely tailored towards the David Icke, Alex Jones crowd.
Let's just say the anti-vax thing. You know, like Russell Brand is anti-vax. I've never said that I'm anti-vax.
No, I've never said I'm anti-vax. What I've said is maybe, people who can't get the vaccine should have rights.
It is that perhaps are reluctant to become vaccinated shouldn't be treated as criminals, condemned, and treated as social pariahs.
They're not. People who are reluctant or have a vaccine hesitancy. Nobody was shit-talking people who had vaccine hesitancy. It was the people who were asserting that it had an RFID chip in it and all that bullshit.
One reason being that there seems to be an enormous crossover with people that are poor, people that are from non-majority populations in the
He means black Americans.
country, i.e. people from ethnic minorities.
Oh, ethnic.
There seem to be a large number of unvaccinated people that have reason to be mistrustful of the government.
Yes, because I've given them lots of reasons to be mistrustful of the government, just in time for them to not get vaccinated. But I don't have any part to play in their deaths. I'm just warning them. You've never been able to trust the government before. I mean, except when you drive or fly or most daily interactions. It's amazing how the rest of society fucking works, isn't it? But you shouldn't trust the government. Not when it comes to something like saving your life.
Big corporations like Big Pharma. There seem to be a number of reasons to
Big Pharma, right.
In fact, a recent study.
By the way, a lot of folks like that they get their insulin from quote unquote Big Pharma. They get their syringes for taking their insulin from Big Pharma. But they shouldn't trust that either. Should we? I mean, how do you know it's insulin, right? Right, Russell? How do you even know? I mean, it says it. But I mean, can you really trust it? Right? I mean, think about it, right?
Published in some of the very publications that have leveled criticism at me, recently revealed that Johnson & Johnson did a study that showed that natural immunity plus less vaccines than they originally suggested could be more effective than the number of vaccines they originally.
Hybrid immunity offers increased protection that is longer lasting. Hybrid immunity, meaning having gotten the vaccine and actually having it. And by the way, that's for theirs, which has been one of the least effective. Had the most issues, got the pause.
Suggested, and remember, this is an ongoing situation, so...
Yeah, right. But why think that new information is innocent? It's got to be a plot.
Knows what permutations may come elsewhere. And one of
Yeah, and by the way, this is an asshole who like 2 videos ago were saying that new information, they're starting to relax masking and vaccine needs or whatever, and this is clearly part of the plan.
main things we're criticising is this attitude of certainty and condemnation that's continually applied to situations that are clearly changing and shifting.
Yeah, especially when you... Literally, he's talking about these situations. Here's something that's clearly shifting and changing from a protest about vaccine mandates in Canada to a blockade about a bunch of different issues, and one of the biggest Telegram accounts about the DC convoy is fucking turned into a Q account. It had nothing to do with the rights of truckers to go back and forth over the Canadian border. They don't give a shit. They think the fucking trucks are full of kids. How did we miss this? Ukraine doesn't have biolabs. And this is the fucking thumbnail for just the conversation, dummy. The story changes again. Yeah. It's official. They lied. There's more to this, Putin. I've been warned not to talk about this. No, you fucking haven't. We're not allowed to discuss this. Look at this bullshit. It's just a thought. I'm just trying. The establishment are shitting their pants. We did that video, whatever. Are they just puppets? Right. So they, yeah, there's a changing situation. So they do run the world. Fucking World Economic Forum, like, with his fucking tendrils. The narrative is shifting. It's Bill Gates. It's the CDC. They're just trying to get us all drugged up. Things are just changing. I just thought yesterday that it was the Illuminati. Today it's like Illuminati plus.
I'm not in the business of telling you stuff that ain't true.
I'm in the business of implying lies. I don't say lies. I don't have the balls to actually lie as boldly as this. That's why I gesture like this all the fucking time.
We've got enough people doing that.
Yeah, he doesn't want it. That market's already saturated. He's in the implied lying.
Me joining in. I'm trying my best as a flawed and fallible person to be engaged with you in an open discourse so we can...
Bullshit. No, he isn't. No, he fucking well isn't.
Learn together. That's why it's important you stay with me to the end. It's important.
Yeah, it's important you watch this video all the way through.
You subscribe to this channel.
Motherfucker.
One of the newspapers, you probably haven't heard of it. It's a British newspaper called, ironically, The Independent.
Oh, fuck, man. I was kidding, and he actually went for it. Ironically, The Independent, even though they're owned by Rupert Murdoch. Oh, whatever.
The newspaper that calls itself The Independent is possibly up to 50% funded by the Saudi Arabian state. A newspaper that calls itself The Independent is criticising this channel and its content for being somehow duplicitous and...
Yeah, sorry, did you go after the Saudis sometime recently? And they decided to come for you, Russell? Is that what you're saying? They've been half funded by the Saudis? Or a Saudi? Or some Saudis? Or it's part of their attempt to buy influence in England, so they half own The Independent, or they invested in it? Which part is it? And again, I'm not a big reader of The Independent, but if the assertion is they can't be trusted because they're part owned by the Saudis, it's not like you're going against the Saudis. Ever.
Territorial. Well, I'm not sure that they're in a great position to make those kind of remarks and
and you are?
Make those kind of observations. If you're called The Independent and you're funded by the Saudi Arabian state, you ain't even got past the title without lying. So, it's just a few facts, just to make sure I'm not making...
Well, I think they were named that before the investment came in.
...stuff up. Sultan Mohammed Abul Jadayel...
Sounds sketchy to me.
...a stake of between 25% and 50% in independent digital news and media.
Somewhere between 25 and 50%. Notice how Russell went straight to 50%? This is, and by the way, it's sourced out of The Guardian, which apparently is valid in this. Can we look at this again? Maybe this is a great example. This is a fantastic example. This is his source, right? This is what he's saying. And what do you say, Russell?
A newspaper that calls itself The Independent is criticising this channel and its content for being somehow duplicitous and conspiratorial. Well, I'm not sure that they're in a great position to make those kind of remarks and to make those kind of observations. If you're called The Independent and you're funded by the Saudi Arabian state, you ain't even got past the title without lying.
Well, they aren't. This one guy owns somewhere between 25 and 50%.
It's just a few facts, just to make sure I'm not making this stuff up.
Just a few facts.
Mohammed Abul Jadayel owns a stake of between 25% and 50% in Independent Digital News and Media, the holding company of The Independent, according to filings at companies.
Okay, so he owns a stake of the greater company, but not The Independent by itself. It's a holding company. It has properties underneath it.
Former Culture Secretary Jeremy Wright warned that the ultimate investor may have strong links to the Saudi Arabian state, raising fears that a foreign government may have gained influence over the news direction of two major British publications. Around 60% of The Independent's revenue is derived from advertising, 15% encompasses new product development and digital services, including ad sales, data and technology support. You know, because we've done it before, that the mainstream media channels in the United States make a significant amount of their money from tracking your data, bundling your data, and selling your data. That's not...
Yeah. The cable companies, not NBC.
Tested, that's how the media operates.
Dude, that's how you operate. Like and subscribe below. Let me know what you think.
From their conviction.
Yes, and I am tracking all of your data. I'm just saying. Oh, and yes, be afraid, be very afraid.
Models.
It comes from The Guardian, which apparently is an okay source. And then we go to The Intercept, because you're just switching in the middle.
Media corporations.
That available for a fee that, tell you that you're being tracked and therefore not at all don't have a dog in this fight.
Found that news websites contain the most trackers globally.
Because they lose so much fucking money and they invest so much money in stuff that they want subscribers to be, and they're tracking which part people go to and they order which you read it, but they do it relatively anonymously. Who gives a shit? More than business, banking, entertainment, or adult websites. Phew!
More than business, banking, entertainment, or even porn. So you're more likely to be tracked by looking at legacy media sites than you are if you looked at a porn site or an...
How much are you tracked on Pornhub versus The Guardian? Again, this goes into the percentage conversation. 20% more, 37% more, 42% more. How much is that? Oh, well, the other one, you enter an email and they do cookies like any other website. But this one, actually, if you've entered your email before, it keeps track of it. So it's 42% more.
Entertainment site. So how are you going to get honest, independent reporting from those guys?
Because they're servicing their readers. They know, they're gathering data, probably, if you accept their cookies, location data. So they're going to put stories at the top that deal with the area you're in. Big fucking whoop.
And it's sort of...
If you've got tracking data turned on your phone, it's already gathered. They're just using that information to curate your news feed. They're not fucking... Good Lord.
Makes sense, doesn't it, that they would be threatened by any other source of information, particularly if that source of information is open about our own fallibility.
You're not open about your own fallibility. You use it as a fucking fake shield. He doesn't believe in his own fallibility. He doesn't even cite it. If you're open about your own fallibility, talk about the horrifying mismatch between your stupid meditation site and your awful thumbnails and your storylines, which are built to make people anxious, afraid, and overwhelmed.
willing to be mutable and to change the conversation as new information comes available. No ties at all to giant business corporations, although I recognize we're on a big tech platform and we have an ad revenue model so that we can pay staff and run a business and it
pay staff and run a business.
In the real world. That is something that we do. We're
clearly capitalist. We dovetail our storylines to get the most number of eyeballs so we can expand our staff. I mean, that cordwood's not going to cut itself.
About that. We want to be part of an open conversation.
Again, open conversation is going to end up having a TM by the end of it.
With you. We want to provide alternative narratives and not only provide the narratives, invite you to
to write your narratives down below. So, because we do operate on an ad rev model and that lets the advertisers know that we have engagement.
Create the narratives with us. Because do you know one thing I know? I don't know what's best. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've been wrong many times.
Yeah, cite one. Go ahead.
But I'm beginning to think I'm right about this. Mainstream media is not your friend.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's why you got to come here. You can only trust me. The mainstream media is not your friend. As it says in The Guardian,
culture is not your friend.
Wait, what is? Pop culture?
The mainstream media is not your friend. The culture is not...
The culture? What do you mean, Western culture or the media culture?
Your friend. The government is not your friend.
Oh, okay, that's by itself. The culture is not your friend. So your music and movie tastes, the TV shows you like, the clothes you wear, not your friend. It's attacking you. I mean, you don't believe me? Just turn your back for a split second and you wake up in a low neck shirt with a dumbass necklace that you bought at a curio shop and, because it's very expensive, but it looks wonderfully cheap.
Big business is not your friend. They are operating collegiately in unison to create a set of systems that are beneficial to them and disadvantage you.
Why? Okay, so again, look. This idea that it's all big business. Oh, big business. Which ones? And what do you mean disadvantage? Make a profit off what they give you that you can buy optionally? Wait, what am I supposed to be afraid of? Big Zenith? Do I have to be fear that Big Dell is taking advantage of me? Big Apple?
This threat to their power comes from unionization and mobilization of large groups of people.
Yeah, I agree. I look forward to Russell moving his business to a country that doesn't have free healthcare and forming free healthcare for all of his employees.
They're so nervous about it. They're so aggressive about it. They're so protective about it.
You seem worried. This is the point in the debate where he decided to give up arguing and just sing.
Makes me think that they've got an agenda. The video that's got them all heated up and
is it?
Ross is one we made about Justin Trudeau and Justin Trudeau's introduction of emergency powers to shut down trucker protests, which were largely peaceful, which I said
largely peaceful, except for the guns.
Said on this channel that if you shut down peaceful protest, what you're essentially doing is trying to control dissent.
No, it's not a protest, it's a blockade. And by the way, Russell, if you wanted to blockade something, you couldn't. Nor could I. I don't drive a giant fucking truck. Okay? So these people are using what is effectively material privileges that they have in the same way that if somebody worked for a demolition company and they decided to blow up a fucking bridge because they had access to dynamite, they would not, they would be in a different class of dissent than I am.
Now, look at the next level. If someone points that out, you try to shut down that person.
You're not, by the way, they can protest all they fucking want. They can't blockade a road. That's what's happening. And it was a intentional blockade of ports, of places of entry into Canada.
You've got to stamp it out like whack-a-mole. Like the old woman that swallowed a fly. You've got to swallow a frog and an horse and a cat and a cow to just prevent the truth from getting out.
Or there's a distinct difference between people holding signs and protesting en masse and maybe a couple of dozen people taking up the same amount of space by jamming trucks in the road. Where 10 people or 15 or even 50 people can create a blockade the way 100,000 marchers would do. But they are using the weight of what they're doing to outsize their dissent and claim more validity in the conversation than they actually deserve. Does that make any fucking sense? Maybe there isn't a slippery slope in this situation. Maybe the slippery slope was in the other direction, that these assholes think that Women's March, millions of people in the street, versus 20 truckers blocking a road, same effect on thoroughfares, but a huge difference in the discourse, the genuine discourse of people.
These people are not what they claim to be. They're not running fair liberal democracies.
Yes, they are.
They use the aesthetic of fair liberal democracies.
Like you use the aesthetic of hippie to sell your Alex Jones bullshit.
They look presentable and they say nice things about being respectful and loving to people from a variety of communities, as we absolutely must be if we're
totally
to build a decent and better world. But when you
I mean, not around here, obviously. It's a nice neighborhood I live in. It's a sweet flat. It's not flat. It's more of a country mansion, but whatever.
Centralised state, centralised corporate control, centralised domination.
Yeah, you mean like China and Russia? Oh, no, you don't mean like China and Russia. Centralized dominant control? Yeah, because that's what we have in the United States. I mean, if you really think about it, Fox and Newsmax and OAN and RSBN and MSNBC and CBS News and fucking Netflix, they're all just fingers in the same glove.
Culture media. We don't have the opportunity to build these communities.
By the way, asshole, you're on YouTube. It's an American company. It's available in Canada regardless. He's not been knocked off there.
All we pointed out is that Trudeau's introduction of emergency measures to shut down largely peaceful protests.
Largely peaceful? That's a bit of a wiggle.
In Ottawa was at odds with the kind of democratic principles he was espousing when critiquing Russia's horrific actions.
Bullshit. Cutting off funding, especially foreign funding, for allegedly domestic protests that are blockades of roads, again, stopping ambulances and school buses and people getting to and from work, which is not putting your body on the line as an individual and going, we're all standing arm in arm, all 37 of us, and we're going to stand here in this street blocking things to show you how much we care. Now, we don't have to do that. I just park my truck here. Just flatten the tires. And if you try to take me out, I'll threaten you with violence. Oh, P.S., my buddy who pulled up in the truck over there is loaded with guns. Largely peaceful.
In Ukraine. Let's note, for example, as Chrystia Freeland pointed out, that the aspect of the...
There's a lot of fucking edits in this. Somebody had to go back and reread what they were arguing.
Emergency measures that allow the financial assets remains in place still.
Right. And?
Advance on this argument.
Jesus Christ, how many edits are in this piece?
Assets remains in place still. An advance on this argument is that in Canadian Parliament, they are now themselves investigating the introduction of those measures and whether or not it was anti-democratic.
Yeah, that's how democracy works. The tools are available to the Prime Minister. He uses them specifically for this. And then they go, maybe that's a bit too much power for one person to have, so let's look into it, and if it is, we'll change the law. That's how a democracy works. Even in their overreach, they're better than Putin and Xi Jinping's situation.
On Monday, a joint committee of Canada's Parliament officially launched an inquiry into the Trudeau government's actions against the Freedom Convoy civil liberties protesters.
Which should be in quotes.
The unprecedented inquiry will look into allegations.
Unprecedented. That's in quotes.
The Trudeau government violated protesters' charters' rights when they arrested and detained them without charge, as well as the extreme actions of freezing bank accounts of protesters. Now, some of you might say, well, that is good, because that's an indication that there is democracy in Canada because they're investigating those actions.
Right.
I would agree. That is a good sign, isn't it? Because it's pretty bad that it happened, but at least there's being an investigation. But remember...
Yeah, but it's no different. Remember, it had to happen, and then they looked into it afterwards. Or in Russia, they don't even look into it, so that's better.
Then we have to look at, does the investigation lead to what? A revocation of those powers? Someone being fined?
I don't know, move to Canada and fucking vote.
Meaningful change in democracy, or does it become something that's a phatic exercise that's ultimately theatrical that don't change anything? We don't know that yet.
Yeah, we don't know that, but I do want to leave that as the final thought in your mind, because the insinuation is that I'll make 3 options available to you. The third one I'll give the most words to. I'll leave that at the end and go, I don't know. What do you think? Tell me below. Is it the last thing I said? That it's clear that I believe? Because that's how things work, isn't it? That's how governments work.
I've got my suspicions. The committee is...
Right. Fucking hell. It's just an opinion show. That's all it is. He's just having an open discussion with his fucking self.
Up of several Liberal Party and Conservative...
By the way, for the record, I love engaging with the chat, and I'm glad to bring it in sometimes, but this is not an open discussion. This is relatively rhetorical. I'm giving my opinion on things, and I hope it is shared with others and people find it entertaining, but I don't dovetail it to some illusion of community, like community farming of opinions. Especially when it's like, beyond just doing that's a bit weird. Lying about doing it, which is what he does, is horseshit.
Party appointees, as well as appointees selected by the New Democrats. Much of the investigation will look at Trudeau's attempt at justification for invoking the Emergencies Act.
Which is, by the way, source, Reclaim the Net. A website, I suppose?
Now, of course he'll get... And of course, no one in their right mind would say that these actions, which I personally disagree with, are comparable to the military action happening elsewhere in the world.
That's exactly what you're saying. That's exactly what you said. I didn't imply it. I just allowed for the inference thereof. I mean, can you see the difference? Implying would require bold and direct speech, whereas allowing for the inference thereof is that I'm just planting seeds and pretending I didn't throw them on the ground at all.
Of course, there's no comparison to be made. But what I think is worth observing is the way that our democracies are altering, the way that our reporting on democracy is altering, the way that conversation is being closed down.
Yeah, that's what's happening. You mean, by the way, you're... saying that democracies aren't really democracies and they're probably bullshit anyways, and even if they do try to do something, it's never going to work out, even though it does mostly, and you happily live in one of those countries, but you don't really, and if it doesn't work, you notice that. If it does work, it's supposed to, so fuck it.
What it seems like to me is that for a number of varying reasons, whether it's anti-fascist or anti-this or anti-that, conversation is being shut down. The ability to communicate is being shut down.
No, it isn't. The ability to blockade roads with trucks is being shut down. You can talk all you want.
The ability to criticize power is being taken away.
No, it isn't. Asshole who is saying this on YouTube, and the only reasoning behind his argument is that there are articles criticizing his behavior and his argument.
The Emergencies Act is a piece of legislation that was passed in 1988. It gives the federal government emergency powers in times of crisis. This can include things like freezing bank accounts, deploying the National Police Force, and other measures.
Okay, so he has these abilities. They said, what can we do? They said, well, legally, you can do this, this, and this. Really, can we? Yeah, you can. Okay, well, let's look into it and see if that would be valuable, if that would put an end to any of this stuff. I think it would. The Emergency Act is a piece of legislation that was passed in 1988. It was passed. by democratic means. And it wasn't even like a post 9/11 thing. This is 1988 for fuck's sake.
Trudeau invoked the Emergencies Act to give himself these unprecedented powers.
Well, they're not unprecedented. They were precedented. Those powers were enumerated in legislation in 1988.
The RCMP were deployed to remove protesters.
Blockades.
Some bank accounts were frozen without a court order.
Because they didn't need one. Some bank accounts. You mean foreign ones? Or their equivalents in the state?
These things did happen.
Yeah, they did. Legally. Based on a bill that was passed in fucking 1988.
Now, you decide for yourself.
I've decided that it is democratic for, and it is a useful expression of power for the prime minister of a country to use a law that was voted in before he graduated fucking high school.
Intelligent person. What's the problem? That happening or someone telling you that that's happening?
Well, it's not that you're telling me that it's happening. You're lying about it. Even just the word unprecedented, when it's literally precedented.
And suggesting that that happening might be a problem.
Yeah, that's what you're getting kicked. No, that isn't it, by the way. This is a straw man, and it's bullshit. He conflated this with Russia. And he has, because of these powers, which were voted in 1988 and have been there through successive PMs in Canada for decades, because those exist and because Trudeau used them to deal with a mix of foreign money and Canadian money in these blockades, not protests, blockades of streets and roads around the capital and around their entries into the country, that is somehow the same as what Vladimir Putin does. The snuffing of dissidents, the spraying of poison in his political opponents' faces, the jailing, and he's giving Alexei Navalny 15 more fucking years. Anybody who protests gets 15 years. And the conflation of this is so fucking disgusting.
What do you think the role of the free media is?
Exactly this. They're criticizing you for your bullshit analogy, and you, because the criticism they have of you is just and legitimate, are acting like a victim and lying about their motivations.
Point out that things like that are happening, or to shut that down, or mitigate it, or back up power. Many feel that it's an abuse of power and that it should only be used in cases of true emergency, not to shut down speech.
Well, it's not shutting down speech. It's stopping a blockade. You can talk all you fucking want. At what point, even in jail, you can speak. You're not losing speech in this. And if you were literally protesting like everybody else has to protest, this never would have come up. It's the blockade that's a problem. Blockades are not speech. They aren't. It's not the same thing. Stop pretending they are. Stop conflating the two. Nonsense.
In another separate committee, MPs were warned by Assembly of First Nations National Chief Roseanne Archibald that the unprecedented decision to invoke the Emergencies Act had broad spectrum consequences. My concern is the Act is a tool, and the tool itself can actually name and actually place labels upon people.
Okay. Yes, the could do emergencies.
Said. The implications of the Emergencies Act are far and wide, and that is why I'm standing before you. I'm a former activist myself, and I've been involved in civil actions and charged. Now, obviously, as the...
Right. Part of civil disobedience is breaking the law and being willing to go to jail for it or suffer normal consequences to get your point across. It's not civil disobedience if you're not disobeying. Also, that person was more than likely arrested while at a sit-in with a bunch of other people. It wasn't because they parked their truck sideways on the fucking highway.
Of the First Nation people, Roseanne Archibald would be the very kind of person that Trudeau would be looking to form alliances with and would be looking to condemn, say, truck.
Right. But this is like slippery slope paranoia that happens all the time. This is this is the same like gun activists. Like if they start, taking guns away from domestic abusers, the next, what's next? I kick my dog, they take my gun away?
Or you truckers, remember what they said, they're racist, they're misogynists. Well, here is a female chief of the First Nation Assembly saying, I don't like these measures, because any right-thinking person does not want their freedom reduced, or their ability to protest controlled, or their money.
Yeah, well, then don't blockade a road. Protest. Gather a lot of people to your cause. Use your ability for speech as a messaging tool. I mean, what if it's not a truck and a road? What if somebody just decided, well, I've got a dump truck full of gravel. I'll just fill the sewer downtown with gravel, back it up into the entire city, just so that shit and waste just flows backwards out of protest, because it's free speech. All I'm doing is blockading the sewer. I blocked one pipe. See what I mean?
Be able to be frozen by the state, because the application of those measures will change according to the flavors of the day.
Right. And because the flavor of the day could be that I, in protesting Russell's bullshit, decide to rent a U-Haul, fill it with cement, and park it in front of his driveway, and pop the tires, and set tripwires on it so that if you try to move it, it will blow up. It's free speech. I'm just trying to express myself, Russell. By the way, no one do that. That's insane. Stop it.
A little while ago, you couldn't talk openly about so many aspects of the coronavirus pandemic.
Yes, you could. You couldn't assert things you didn't know that would cause violence towards some people, but you could talk about anything. I talked about all of it. I mean, like, you know how many times I did videos and they're like, well, I can't even say COVID because it'll go. They weren't getting yanked off the fucking air. They got a yellow dollar sign next to their video because not all advertisers want their ads on people talking about news and specifically COVID. They would rather put it on makeup tutorials and fucking, how to play guitar videos. That's why so that's a full green. And if you talk about sensitive issues, you get a yellow. That's the only reason. It's not censorship.
Increasingly, those protocols are altering. Sometimes because new information.
Yeah, all the time.
Revealed. But sometimes it's because the attitudes have changed.
Yeah, it's just attitudes. Attitudes based on new information.
I believe that you should be able to have an open conversation and be
fucking open conversation, TM.
Wrong all of the time. Because this.
Yeah, all the time. If people are in a tunnel and a flood is coming, you should be able in the middle of that to start discussing swimming lessons.
It's a democracy.
Escape is what most people are going to want to do, but there has to be a conversation about sit and listen to the radio as the water rises. You have to be able to speak about anything. Otherwise, are you really free? Glug, glug.
I want to be told what I can say and what I can't say and be shut down. And
you can say anything you fucking want. Just don't block ambulances with your goddamn car.
I have the ability to protest. Can't you see how it's closing in?
No, it isn't. It fucking well isn't. As a matter of fact, it's more like certain people in increasingly smaller groups are getting bolder in their assertion of what control they should have. And that the tyranny we've always been warned about that's supposed to come from Big Brother is actually coming from fucking Little Brother. Is coming from the Capitol rioters. Is coming from people who are small in number compared to the rest of the goddamn country, but believe that somehow they deserve to have their political will enacted over everyone else's, no matter how small that is. And their assertion of those rights come at the expense of everyone else. Even, by the way, when they are absolutely wrong.
Shut down your bank account. They can stop you protesting.
No, they can't. They could shut down some bank accounts. Group ones in particular. not your individual ones, unless they have, a warrant or whatever. Canada rules are slightly different than the United States. And again, this is a law that was voted in 1988. If they want to rescind it, then that's what they'll do.
They can stop people on the internet saying, hey, what about this protesting being shut down?
No, they can't. People, there's nothing, no one is ever being stopped from going, what's the deal with this being shut down? They do sometimes go, it's being shut down, because it's to distract from the fact that Hunter Biden eats babies, and the Chinese intentionally attacked us with a bioweapon, and people are being slaughtered rightfully, and they deserve. Hold on one second. There you go. That's when you're asserting that you know why, which he does all the goddamn time.
Why would you do that if you didn't have an agenda?
Russell, you have an agenda, dum-dum.
Sure, many of the people that no.
Yeah, they don't realize they've been hypnotized. They think they're telling the truth.
But as
Oh, so you're talking about Fox News or this one. You wouldn't have these kind of followers if you weren't giving this kind of message. Because a lot of the Alex Jones viewers are jumping ship. A lot of the Fox viewers are looking for somebody to go, aha, I told you so. Even this guy thinks I'm right. Right?
Under Mr. Trudeau's decree, police had the authority to...
Oh, Wall Street Journal. Owned by Rupert Murdoch. Gosh, whoever wrote this probably doesn't even realize that their message is being dictated by Rupert Murdoch, because they wouldn't even have that job.
Back crowds on foot or with horses, use pepper spray, enter trucks and other vehicles by whatever means necessary, and make arrests en masse.
By whatever means necessary. Oh, that's a bit incendiary, don't you think? Is there an accusation that police under Trudeau fired bazookas or opened fire on these people? I mean, any means necessary is big talk. I mean, what did they had the authority to push back crowds on foot or with horses. Okay. Yeah, they do that with things that turn riotous, and use pepper spray. Oops. Enter trucks and other vehicles by whatever means necessary. Yeah, especially if they've been blockaded. You can bust the window if somebody's left their truck there to block the roads on purpose. And make arrests en masse. Yeah, that's what happens when that's civil disobedience. Put your money where your mouth is, asshole.
The Canadian Civil Liberties Association at the time stated the federal government has not met the threshold necessary to...
At the time. Then they saw the trucks with the guns in them and went, oh shit, okay, we're sorry, we didn't realize.
...invoke the Emergencies Act. This law creates a high and clear standard for good reason. The Act allows government to bypass ordinary democratic processes. This standard has not been met.
Yeah, because they were representing those people. Of course that's what they're going to say.
The Emergencies Act can only...
Doesn't mean they're wrong even. It just means to consider the source.
...be invoked when a situation seriously threatens the ability of the Government of Canada to preserve the sovereignty, security and territorial integrity of Canada, and when the situation cannot be effectively dealt with under any other law of Canada.
Right, because they were blocking ports of entry.
That's the Canadian Civil Liberties Association.
Right, who were representing some of the truckers and are purists about whatever the version of the Canadian Bill of Rights
already
is.
Heard from the leader of the First Nations, and in their own parliament there's an inquiry. So
yeah, democracy is ongoing. Some people are for it, some people are against it. There were more people for it when it got passed. There might be more people against it. What the hell?
Evidently, there is good reason to suspect.
By the way, I don't know why the audio is wonky in this situation. I apologize.
Democratic action took place in Canada, and that is all I said. And for that,
No, it's not all you said. What was the assertion here, dum-dum?
In Canada, and that reason to suspect that undemocratic action took place in Canada.
No, it didn't. It absolutely did not. There's no reason to suspect it at all. The PM had a law that gave him this and gave him a judgment call to enact it. Whether or not the Canadian ACLU, the CCLU, believed it or not is immaterial to his judgment call. The question of whether his judgment can be trusted in this situation or if he went too far will be handled in the next election. And just like the legislation was handled in an election in fucking 17 elections ago. It is democratic. It's not anti-democratic. In many ways, the same way, as much as I hate the Patriot Act, isn't technically anti-democratic because it got voted in by a majority of people. And lesson on us to who we elect, who in the future will be for or against those kind of bills. And I make judgments in a lot of ways based on those kind of assessments of my candidates. Because that's democracy. But that law already passed and got signed when the guy I voted for didn't become president. And something extraordinary happened, and the guy who I didn't vote for got elected by a minority of the votes, it turns out, by 500, and he would have lost. But in the case of Bush was sworn in, was the president. The field was so narrow that even though Gore had won Florida by 500 some odd votes and should have been president, right? That was the big argument at the time. Didn't matter because the difference was so narrow that neither side had a mandate in this circumstance. And the guy who actually got in by that hair's breadth was the kind of guy who would make a decision that would lead us to the Iraq War, for example. And under the circumstance, the gift he was given in that regard by 9/11 was the ability to scare the country into a lot of stuff. Looking back, a lot of people aren't going to make that same mistake again. As a matter of fact, we've almost overcorrected in some ways in how we're shy about some of the things that involvements we should have had that we could have played a positive part in, but we're trying to get away from. The idea that any military action is definitely going to be bad. But that's democracy. Sucks sometimes. Sucks being on the receiving end of democracy. And quite frankly, I've said this many times to my Democratic friends. We've got 48 senators. We haven't earned the right to bulldoze policy through the Senate. We have not. State by state, we've left it up to other people. That's democracy. But I prefer that dirty mess of having to express my political opinions and sell it to my fellow Americans and find some sort of consensus versus fucking Putin and Xi and Saudi Arabia. And pretending that there's even a balance there is grotesque.
And that is all I said.
No, it isn't.
And for that, I'm labelled a conspiracy theorist, charged with being a right-wing person.
No. Dude, none of that comes from this one article. This is disingenuous.
Some of you are right-wing people, and guess what? I don't
Some of you are. Most of my audience is. Who cares?
mind what you believe in. I'm sure you believe stuff that I don't believe, and you know stuff I don't know. And perhaps
that's definitely true.
Together, we will discover that we have more and more in common. And perhaps together...
No, Russell, we won't. Because while I don't believe that a kid can ask a stupid question, I sure as fuck believe adults can. And I also think that somebody who pretends they don't know better is worse than someone who doesn't. Because the person who doesn't can actually be taught. And the person who pretends, like Russell, is using this as a tool to manipulate others.
We will start to realise that the mainstream media is not our friend and that the government is...
Yeah, the government's not... an open discussion about how the mainstream media is not our friend, the government is not our friend, the culture...
our friend, and that our culture is operating to keep us separated from one another.
What the fuck are you talking about? What do you mean, our culture? This is a new one. This is something he's added. What do you mean, our culture? Western culture is the most pluralistic culture on earth. America, with all of our problems, is the most racially diverse country on the planet. My culture tells me that all men and therefore all women are created equal. And though it came out of, as flawed as it is, people, it ultimately is leading to an availability for, freedom of endeavor for more human beings than ever existed on the planet previous. My culture tells me that minorities and majorities and LGBT people and straight people are equal under the law and deserve, respect until told otherwise, until you learn otherwise. That's what my culture tells me. It also tells me that my music taste and your music taste may differ, but I don't give a fuck. And I'm glad that you found some music that makes you happy. I don't have to laugh at what you laugh at. That's my culture. What I'm curious when he says our culture wants us, to separate us or something. What, as opposed to what? What's the alternative culture? Is it this like utopian, farcical Marxist version of things that he thinks he believes on some level when he absolutely fucking does not? That somehow that's the magic cure? Or is he specifically talking about a more uniform, CCP and or Russian format?
We must continually look for opportunities to communicate openly and honestly and become circumspect and indeed downright suspicious about the agenda.
No. Paranoid is bullshit. It's as much a hypnotism as being completely gullible about stuff. He is absolutely the flip coin of the maggots and Trumpers that just believe Trump is right about everything.
Of newspapers that call themselves The Independent, while they're owned, at least in significant part, by the Saudi Arabian state. Do your own research.
Yeah, do your own research. The Guardian told me that. Also, I quoted the Wall Street Journal, which is almost wholly owned by Rupert Murdoch and some family members. I didn't bring that up, though. I like what they wrote about me.
On how independent they're likely to be with
Thank you, Jason.
kind of alliance. But that's just what I think. What do you think?
Oh, God. It's right out of a fucking class. That's just what I think. What do you think? If I was actual justice warrior, I would sue.
I might be wrong. I want your comments. I want to learn from you.
No, you don't. He's not gonna. Again, this is a lie. Fucking hell.
Not so arrogant as to believe that I know stuff you don't. I know.
Dude, you just told me to fear my own culture, my government, and the media in my country. Not treat it with a mild, healthy skepticism, but understand that they mean me ill. That my government is actively trying to harm me. In a democracy. Because this is an indiscriminate statement about everybody. And that there is somehow a better version of it without ever putting it forward.
You've suffered things that I don't understand. I'm not like the mainstream media that thinks they know better than you, that think you're dumb and stupid and your job is to sit down and obey. I believe you should have a voice. I believe you've got rights, and I believe the time is coming where we're gonna need to express them. Hit me up in the comments below. What other stories would...
Yeah, hit me up in the comments below about how your free speech has been curtailed, and I'll do a video about how I'm not allowed to talk about what you've asked me to talk about.
Like to see us communicate about. If you're not subscribed yet, join us.
No. No. I'd rather just tell people to subscribe to my channel, Russell. I just have to. I'm not gonna let you sell. It's too late. It's 2 o'clock in the morning here. It's 2:22, and I'm already way past my bedtime. and I got to go to sleep at some point so I can get up and take my kid clothes shopping tomorrow because he's growing like a weed. So there. Oh, God, it's so aggravating. Thanks, Dragon. Yes, please subscribe to my channel. And if you're seeing a clip of this, comment below. Oh, fuck, man. I can't even, like, sell like this bullshit. I don't know how are people this capable of bullshitting themselves this much? I find it amazing. I find it, and I'm glad I do. I would say it's kind of like when murder makes the news. You want murder to make the news. When you turn on the news and there's murder, that's because there's not, in terms of interpersonal interactions, murder's fairly rare. Even when it's way up, it's still way down. Life is kicking death's ass right now, even with COVID deaths. More people being born than dying in the United States and Mexico. Canada, not so much. You guys need to start having sex again. Europe, you've got your own problems. But watching somebody like Russell just actively BS people, and no, he's gotta know. I mean, it's such a fucking flim-flam. That's what all the gesturing is about. The whole like I don't know, do you know, do this, point there. Blah. Oh, God. It's, and and again, I'm sure that there'll be some trollage that, and even bringing it up seems to foment this kind of thing. But there'll be some trollage about, jealousy about his numbers. The only thing I'm jealous of in any of the clips we do is Glenn Beck's studio. I've told you guys this, not the little cowboy bedroom one he has in his garage. I mean the weird blue, like internal Predator spaceship one. And even then, I have to say, when he had his Sonic cup on the desktop the other day, I was like, that studio smells like French fries. I'm done. But when somebody like Russell bullshits the people watching so blatantly, and at the end of it going, I could be wrong, but don't trust your government, don't trust the media, don't trust, but because you can't be trusted. But what do you think? Put it like, don't pretend you don't have a bias when you do. I absolutely cop to mine, because I feel as a human being, and I'm sure anybody who's looked at their own point of view, because that's what I would say. I don't have a bias. I have a distinct point of view. A bias is when somebody handed you a way of looking things and you never questioned it, so you just stick with it. A point of view is you've vetted a lot of different arguments and you found one that resonates with your ethics, your morals, your ideals, and within that you're like, yeah, there is right and wrong. There's gray areas in some interactions, but in others there just frankly aren't. And to pretend that there are gray areas in various, in the black and white circumstances we come across, because under the illusion that, we don't fear complexity at all. And by the way, do you notice how Russell picked that phrase up after I started doing videos about him? Hi, Russell. Hi. But there's a difference between not fearing complexity and being comfortable with it and insisting on it because you fear decisions. You fear, making a choice and sticking to it. You're so afraid of being wrong that you pretend everything is basically wrong all the time. There is no right to be found. And even if we saw it, how would we know because we're so wrong? It's a cop-out. Everything about what Russell does it's a cop-out. And I I think the most irritating thing is that he just knows it. And it's just like that. Ugh. I hope Russell sees the chat too. I doubt it. I don't even think he looks at his own. He just tells them, look below. I've got staff that will look at your comments, and then we'll do a metadata analysis on we'll see where we got a spike, and then I'll do another video about that, and we'll check to see if our thumbnails are sufficiently violent. Fuck you, Russell. You grifting bastard. You low-res David Koresh prick. I'm not here to have an open discussion. I'm not. I have a point of view I'm expressing, and I hope it resonates with people. But I'm like, I don't know. Do you know? Does anyone know? Is knowing even possible? Shut the fuck up. Especially when you're having that kind of conversation and your thumbnails look exactly like Alex Jones. Go, I have the documents. We know exactly where the lizard people are. Fucking hell. It's just so gross. So fucking gross. Ugh. Russell, you're a prick. Ugh. And this pretending, look at this hand gesture. I don't know. Do you know? We don't know. If I thought he didn't actually know, if he was actually some sort of like Carl Pilkington level idiot, I'd let it slide. But we all know better. Anyways, you guys are wonderful. Thanks for sticking around. Sorry for the rant at the end, but sometimes I just get disgusted by this bullshit. Much love to you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. Good night.